What's up guys, and welcome to Pen to Paper. I'm Rohrbaugh, better known as Kuro the Artist, and today I'm going to be a comic book artist. Everyone has a story to tell, and these days it's easier than ever to bring your stories to life through the comfort of your own home with platforms like YouTube, DeviantArt, even Medium. The idea of having your own comic series is a passion that is hastily becoming more popular with every year. With some of the biggest franchises in the world being brought to light from these pages, it's no surprises that one might want to have a hand in creating their own comic series too. This creates a large variety of options for consumers to choose to read, and the pressure of figuring out how to stand out can cause writers and artists to focus too heavily on the story, and not enough on the presentation. A key to an engaged audience is emotional investment. People like to come out of a story as if they had experienced it themselves. Feelings of accomplishment, fear, inspiration. If your work can speak to people beyond the surface level of, hey, that was pretty good, they're going to want to come back for more. But how do I get my audience to feel something? 3 words: anticipation and panel placement. A factor unanimous among any emotional reaction is how satisfactory or how surprising the story is. The balance between the two can only be understood through trial and error. Too many cliches, your story will appear bland. Too many twists, and your story won't make any sense and the audience will feel too disconnected. Factoring in anticipation and panel placement, or AP, when writing and illustrating your comics can do wonders with how much your audience can connect to your work. When mapping out how to divide each page with panels, the nucleus of the outcome is ensuring your work visually translates to the comic, from script to screen, page. However, an overlooked linchpin is how the panels themselves can help sell the story. Let's take a look at a scene from the online web series 5 years later. The first panel depicts the two characters far away from each other, while the dialogue immediately implies a disagreement between the two of them. The panels are divided at an angle, in contrast to being vertically parallel, which is the usual default. This gives a sense of motion to the page, as your eyes walk with the character until you reach the third panel, where they are much closer than they had been initially. By the final panel, they are at arm's length. But this panel takes up the same width as the first 3, giving enough significance to let the audience know that this action is important. This panel is also completely below the first 3. This makes it less likely for readers to accidentally see this panel first, allowing this action to be a surprise. But what is happening in that panel? The first 3 panels have very warm colors and a calm orange background. The fourth brings the characters back to their regular color palette, highlighted by a pure white border projecting behind them. The man on the left places his fingers upon the face of the man on the right, and a faint pink glow forms surrounded by a circumference of action lines. Quite mysterious, right? But the reader doesn't get to find out what happens on this page. This is all they get. Although, all they have to do is simply turn to the next page to see what happens. This is enough to create a sense of anticipation. The abrupt ending to this page leaves the reader with a shocking yet unresolved action, and the mere seconds it takes to turn the page is enough for their curiosity to build greatly. But you don't always have to wait for the next page to have that suspenseful reveal. Let's take a look at an example that applies the awareness of AP on a single page. This page only has 3 panels, but each one stretches to the full width of the page, prompting the reader to only read from top to bottom. In the first panel, we are very focused on the character's face. We can see a sense of determination, with his arms crossed over his chest, implying he is winding up for a powerful action. The second panel shows he has uncrossed his arms, and we get a full look at his body. We see his action completed, which erupts green circular waves from his claws. The distorted lettering gives the illusion that the waves are expanding, both growing and moving forward. The third panel shows the results of his action, which is magnetically ripping a gigantic alien spaceship in half, but you may notice that the character is seemingly invisible, but he is actually just very far away. This is supported by having the first panel be close-up, the second panel being a full body shot, as if the camera was steadily zooming out from afar. This is also enforced by the yellow sun behind the character getting smaller with each panel as well. While this does make for a cool shot, the constantly decreasing zoom is also what allows the reader to get a scale of how large that spaceship actually is. We now understand the character's size, and that the third panel depicts him from very far away. With the green waves now protruding the borders of its own panel, all of these combine to make the main character's actions seem more powerful. The common denominator between these two examples is building up to a reveal. If you have something important or extravagant planned that you want your readers to understand is important or extravagant, the delivery is just as, if not more, vital. It also doesn't only apply to huge reveals, mind you. Even minimal amounts of strategic app can help readers understand your characters more. In this example, you start with the character facing away, only to turn around and brace for impact when he hears something unknown approach him. As you can see from his expression, he assumes the worst, as should the reader. However, by the third panel his body relaxes, and his face changes from frightened to confused, telling the audience he is no longer in danger, without even revealing the mysterious visitor. These 3 panels are enough to give you a sense of the environment he's dealing with, without even showing what he's interacting with, solely basing it off of his own reactions. The visitor is finally revealed in the last panel, as a 6-inch tall living ragdoll, justifying his expression. Don't worry, it's a simple factor, but it's very tricky to master. Experiment by taking your script and plotting it out 3 or 4 different ways, and see how each version of the same script can give off a different tone simply based on how you place your panels. Remember, if you're having trouble with your comic, there's an app for that. Thank you for checking out this episode of From Pen to Paper. You can stay up to date with all of my projects on my social medias and join the Discord to talk to other passionate fans. You can also consider donating to the Patreon to support projects like these and get exclusive previews to future episodes of Pen to Paper. And of course, you can read all of my comics and see my artwork on my website, kurothewebsite.com. But until then, keep it fizzy.